Hi everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be playing with our newest card kit called Message in a Bottle. This is a very fun and unique kit and it has a lot of components in it that work together to create a message in a bottle look. So before we start creating our card, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to get in the kit. You have the little love note stamp set, and then you also have the little note sentiment strips that coordinate with the stamp set to cut out little messages to put in your bottle. You have the message in a bottle dynamics, which includes the bottle shape as well as the cork for the top. And we also have a stencil in this kit called Wave Maker, which is an inverted stencil that's going to create your wave design by pulling the ink downwards instead of upwards. And I'll show you that when we do the inking on the card. And then lastly, we have the shaker pouches, which are going to coordinate with the message in a bottle so that you can actually create a dimensional bottle that will hold your little notes that you're going to create. And then we also have an assortment of cardstock colors with some blues and browns for kind of a beachy scene. We also have some reds and pinks for Valentine's Day and some natural colors, so everything is going to work really nicely together. So let's go ahead and start to work on our card. I'm using the Primitive Cream cardstock that comes in the kit. I love this cardstock because it has kind of a speckled look to it, and it's kind of an off-white color, so it gives that look of being a little bit old, which I thought went well with the message in a bottle idea. To create the backdrop for my bottle, I'm going to use the Wave Maker stencil and I'm going to create a little area on the panel that has wave detail. I've used washi tape to kind of mask off some of the parts of the panel. Since I don't want this all over, I just want to have a section of it in the middle. So what I did is I laid the stencil onto my panel, and you can see that I took my ink and I pulled the ink down off of the stencil. And because the stencil is shaped backwards, it actually creates the wave look by going downwards instead of upwards. And what this does is when we add the ink, you can see that as we add our waves on there, you get the really blue look for the actual wave, and then you can kind of have some white area in between to really create a distinct area in between each of the waves. So I'm just going to make my way up the panel and I'm switching the stencil around. All four sides have a completely different design, so you can mix it up and change how your waves look. And I'm making sure to kind of lighten up my ink as I go up. I want it to have a darker look at the bottom and then a lighter look up towards the top where I finish off the waves. And now that I have them done there, I decided that the bottom wasn't as dark as I wanted it. So I'm going to go over top of some of those bottom waves with Mermaid Lagoon ink, which is a little bit of a darker blue. And I'm just putting that stencil directly back over top so I have it lined up perfectly. And now we have the darker waves at the bottom and they kind of fade off towards the top. And I was kind of going for a geometric look, which is why I wanted it to have that kind of really straight edge on the bottom and sides and then have the wave detail at the top. So now my plan is to cut the bottle out of the water area. I want it to look like it's kind of floating in the water. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut that with my die cutting machine. And now you can see we have the bottle shape in the panel, and then we also have the piece that we die cut. Now we're going to hang on to that because we're going to use that to actually close our shaker pouch because I want it to appear clear, like you can see the water in the background. But when you die cut with that window opening, the piece there isn't big enough to close the shaker pouch with stuff inside of it. So what I do is I just take that piece that goes in the middle and I put adhesive all over the back of it and I glue it down onto a piece of text paper. And then what I'm going to do is just take my scissors and very quickly cut around the edges, leaving a bit of an edge all the way around that. What that's going to do is give me an area that I'm going to be able to adhere to the back of the panel so that we can fill in that window opening, but we'll still be able to adhere it over top of the pouch. So we'll get to that in a second. We need to go ahead and create the cork now that we're going to add to this. Now I had an idea for this card and I wasn't sure if it was going to work going into it, but it did work and I love the final result. So what I wanted to do was actually cut the top of the shaker pouch so that I could put a cork into the bottle. But I knew it would need to have a little bit of dimension so that it would kind of fit inside of that pouch opening and stay in there. I didn't want it to easily fall out, but I did want to be able to remove it. So I cut the cork out of craft cardstock 10 times and I layered 6 of them together. So right now I have 6 layered on top of one another. And what I need to do now is do a little bit of surgery on our shaker pouch. So I first took the scissors and I cut the top area off the pouch just where the lip was, but then we still have the top area that closes the pouch. So to remove this little section, I just used my X-Acto knife and very carefully went across the top, and then I went down each side to remove that little piece there. I just took my time and cut a little bit at a time just to make sure I didn't cut too much off, and what I was left with was the whole entire shaker pouch except for the very top area. So this is still going to fit into our window that we've created, but the top of the pouch is actually open now instead of closed. So now before we go ahead and assemble the card, I'm going to stamp out our little sentiment strips that we're going to add inside the bottle. So I have the little stamp set here as well as the coordinating sentiment strips, and I've die cut 3 of those strips with the Primitive Cream cardstock. I picked out 3 different sentiments from the stamp set and I'm going to stamp them onto that sentiment strip with black ink. And you can kind of pick, there's ones that work for best friends or just a friendship card, or you could use one that's more romantic for a husband or a significant other. So I picked out 3 that I liked, I got them all stamped on there, and now I'm going to start to assemble the card. So the first thing we need to do is adhere our shaker pouch into the window opening. So I'm using 1/8" score tape and I'm putting that all the way around that window opening. And then I'm going to just tuck that shaker pouch right inside that window. And the lip that goes around the whole outside edge of the shaker pouch is going to adhere to the adhesive that I added to the back of the panel. I'm then going to use the same adhesive and go around the whole entire shaker pouch once again. And I'm also going to add adhesive all around the rectangle piece of paper that we have on the back of this inside piece. This is just going to ensure that we have this fully adhered down onto the panel when we put it together. Now, since we have an opening at the top of the shaker pouch, we don't actually need to fill this before we put the background on. So I'm going to lay the backer piece on my work surface, and I'm just going to put the panel directly over top to get that lined up and press down really firmly. And now I have my shaker pouch all adhered, but we have the opening at the top, which is going to allow us to add our little messages inside. And this is of course completely optional. If you want to have your shaker pouch completely closed so that you have shaker material inside that can shake around, you do not have to do the part where I cut the top off. You could just glue your cork piece right on top of the shaker pouch when you're finished. So to add a little bit more to that old kind of feeling I was going for, I added a little bit of brown ink to the outside edges of all 3 of our little sentiment strips. And then once I had that done, I decided to test it out and make sure that the little strips are going to come back out of the bottle. I wasn't really sure if this was going to work. So when I put it inside there, it definitely did come back out. I love it. I think it is so fun that you can put them inside of the bottle and then easily remove them so you can kind of see all of them. You could even put little hidden messages on the back of them. So it's just a really cute interactive idea. And you can see I can kind of shake them around. We have quite a bit of space inside of that bottle. So I decided that I needed a little bit of pink and red for a pop of color. So I went ahead and die cut a bunch of little tiny hearts. You can use any hearts for this, or you could just use some sequins or some shapes. And I'm going to add some of those hearts into the bottle as well. To finish off the cork, I put some ink around the edges of that to give it that same kind of old look to it. And now I'm just kind of adding the little hearts in one by one until I'm happy with how many I have in there. I think I ended up adding 3 of the larger red hearts and then 5 of the smaller pink hearts into my bottle. And I did keep a few extra so we can add some to the card front as well. And now this was the last part that I hadn't tried out yet, and I was so excited when this worked. We have 6 layers of that cork piece and it fits perfectly in the shaker pouch. It's just thick enough that it fits nice and snug inside of there and you don't have to press down really hard to get it in, but it's not going to easily fall out. So I would definitely go with 6 if you're going to layer the cork and do this type of technique. And then once I have that done, we have this really cool message in a bottle kind of floating in the waves. So I can add the finished panel to our card base. So I decided to go with a wild cherry card base to keep that red kind of going on the card. And then I'm also going to take those little hearts and we're going to add them to the card front as well. Once I had them adhered on there, I added a little bit of sparkle. Since this is a love themed card, I thought it needed a little bit of glitter. And then to complete our card, I decided I also wanted to add a little bit of highlight detail with a white gel pen. I just think it really adds to the overall look. So I added a little bit to the cork on the top of the bottle. And then I also went around and added a little bit to each of the waves just to kind of give them a little bit more detail. And then that is going to complete our message in a bottle card. We have this really cool interactive card. I was so excited that it turned out exactly how I thought it would. I just think it is so neat that you can remove the cork and kind of take out all of the little messages. This would be a great idea for a child. It would be so fun for them to be able to kind of open it and take everything out. For a spouse, for a friend, pretty much anyone I think would love something interactive like this. It's just a really fun and cute idea. So I hope today's video gave you some ideas on ways that you can use our new message in a bottle card kit. We can't wait to see what you guys create. As always, I appreciate you being here for another video and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks so much for watching.